This meeting is for the Redevelopment Commission to receive information on the Hopewell
Recording in
TIF,
progress.
residential TIF, and the Summit District residential TIFs. And so we'll let the record reflect that our president of the Redevelopment Commission, Deborah Meyerson, is present this evening. We don't have a quorum, but that's okay because we're here to get information from the public and the underlying taxing authorities. We have properly noticed this meeting. The neighborhood associations near each of these TIF areas have been notified, as well as the other underlying taxing authorities. So we appreciate you coming, and I'll start with talking just a little bit about residential TIFs versus commercial TIFs. Okay, there it is. So the TIF is called tax increment financing, and this occurs in TIF districts, and I'll get to a point in a minute where I'll explain that a little bit better. But the statutory authority behind the Redevelopment Commission and TIF districts and tax increment financing is found in Indiana Code 36-7-14 and also the Bloomington Municipal Code, which is 2.18. We currently have commercial TIFs and one spider TIF, they call it. The consolidated TIF, what you see on the screen are the different TIFs that were put together to form one consolidated TIF. That was done because some of the districts would receive little TIF funding, and so projects weren't able to be done, so you had to consolidate them to actually start getting some redevelopment going. There's also an individual TIF at Kinser and Pro Road. Some call it Prow. I grew up calling it Pro. My grandfather's farm was on there. Okay. This is a map that shows the consolidated TIF district, and I believe I'm a little colorblind, the one at the very top, I think that may be green, is the Kinser Pike Pro Road one.
Which is not contiguous.
I'm sorry?
It's not contiguous.
Yes, it is not contiguous, and that's why it could not be combined with the others. This is what's called the Meridian TIF. It follows the fiber network, and so that's why they kind of call it a spider TIF, because it's not clumps. It follows the lines, but we also have that. Okay, so why do we have the Redevelopment Commission? We have it because we need some way to spur good development. We need to take care of areas that have been blighted or that are underdeveloped, and to try to support that economic growth. These two TIFs that we'll talk about tonight really go to help improve housing, and in order to improve the housing that we have, we need infrastructure. And many times for areas to develop, the most expensive part of development is the infrastructure, and so it's difficult for the development to happen because of all the initial outlay of funds that's necessary for these. It can also be used to address environmental issues. Other parts of the Hopewell project, we've been able to do a lot for the environment in that sector. And this tries to help facilitate that private sector investment. For instance, if we can get some infrastructure in, then we have the opportunity to develop the actual homes or units that would be contiguous to that. And we're really trying in both of these projects to preserve or enhance the community character. And we will discuss each of the two here in a few minutes. TIF is a type of financing that's used, and I think, let's go ahead and just skip to the chart. There we go. To me, this is the best way to think of TIFs. And every TIF meeting has this diagram. And so what you have down at the bottom of the drawing there, the green area, that's what the assessed value would be right now. And that's where it would stay, but for the Redevelopment Commission putting funds, putting effort into the growth and redevelopment, economic development of those areas. So what happens is that green part continues to go to all the taxing authorities that get it right now. But that part above it, in the grayish area, that is the incremental increase that you have over the base. And for that wedge there, that is what the RDC funds would capture, and that's the funds that they can use to promote the economic development, to promote, and they can promote it in various ways. When it comes to residential TIFs, many times it has to do with again, infrastructure needs. And they can last for a certain number of years. Residential TIFs can only last 20 years. Sorry, I got dry there. Would last 20 years at a maximum, and the commercial TIFs or the non-residential TIFs could last 25 years. And the clock starts on them when the first debt becomes due and payable on whatever project. So, for instance, because there's going to be this incremental capture of funds, you can issue bonds early that will be paid back by that increment. And so that gives you the money up front to do these infrastructure needs or the other things, the environmental needs, whatever it may be that will help spur the economic development. And those, the 20-year and 25-year are maximum from when that time, the clock starts. So the TIF may actually last a little bit longer, but that's fine because we go by that clock. And then the great news for the other taxing authorities is once this is over and the economic development has occurred, now that red part on the right, that is all that's going to go to the underlying taxing authorities now. So they get a large increase that would not have happened had it not been for the Redevelopment Commission working hard with the TIF funds to help spur the economic development. So again, that is the key to how a TIF works. TIFs are complicated. They can be difficult to understand. So we're happy to answer questions about that. But again, this drawing is pretty much the best way to understand how this works. So I believe next we're Anna Killian Hansen. Oh, by the way, I didn't introduce myself. I'm Dana Kerr. I am an attorney here with the City of Bloomington, and I'm assigned to work with the Redevelopment Commission. I have a lot of experience working with redevelopment commissions. I've been on one for a number of years in the past. I've represented them at another location as well. So I'm really familiar with them and really appreciate the hard work that they do. So I'll turn it over to Anna Killian Hansen. She is the Executive Director for the Redevelopment Commission and the Director of our HAND Department. So.
Thank you. So the purpose of the Hopewell South Planned Unit Development, which we are currently trying to, we're going to Plan Commission on Monday for our second hearing, is to implement a coordinated plan for redevelopment of approximately 6.3 acres, which consists of the former IU Health Hospital site, known as Hopewell South, which consists of blocks 8, 9, and 10. The project is designed as a pilot project to test zoning and subdivision reforms that, if successful, may later inform citywide UDO amendments. By restoring the historic street grid, introducing small lot housing types, and allowing alley and trail frontages, the PUD fosters a more walkable, fine-grained, and human-scaled urban pattern than what current standards permit under current zoning. The project's overall aim is to deliver attainable home ownership opportunities. The requested PUD will reduce the average home price by more than 30% and provide 70% more total homes than can be built by right under existing R4 zoning. The homes allowed under the proposed PUD will range in price from $90,000 for starter cottages up to $650,000 for larger homes. The average home price in the neighborhood will be around $270,000 compared to an average price of over $425,000 under current R4 zoning constraints. Proposed changes will allow smaller, more efficient lots and flexible frontage and increase the total number of homes. Approximately 98 units are being shown on this particular site plan. Small, attainable one-bedroom houses are highly in demand by Bloomington's large number of single-person households, yet the lot cost for over a 4,000 square foot lot cannot be supported by this small, desirable home. The proposed changes both reduce the cost per home for land and infrastructure and also provides a more economically sustainable neighborhood for the city. More compact lots with small homes provide a higher tax value per acre, more working residents per block, with the same cost to provide infrastructure maintenance. The higher number of homes also better support the intended commercial and mixed-use development in the surrounding Hopewell blocks. The PUD enables small lots, reduced setbacks, coverage limits, and legal recognition of alleys, trails, and parks as frontage. These modifications are necessary to achieve the city's attainable housing objectives and provide diverse ownership housing within walking distance of downtown. So as you can see here, the former Convalescent Center, also known as 714 South Rogers Street, is to the east. The future there is a little bit up in the air, but for blocks 9 and 10, we are showing 98 units with approximately 53 lots.
If you back up one slide, I wanted to explain one other thing. When you create a TIF district, development area shows what we see in the map as it stands right now. As far as when we carve out what's going to be an allocation area where the funds actually come from in the incremental, since we aren't sure. Oh, sorry. Thank you. Since we're not sure about the old Convalescent Center, we've got some ideas, but we're not sure. The allocation area that we're doing only covers parcel A. So that's blocks 9 and 10 that you see there. So that'll be the residential TIF area. We'll make that other parcel, part of the parcel B, part of the economic development area. But once we decide how that might be used, then we would decide how we might make that an allocation area. So again, so you have the economic development area, which is the entire part of it. And then for this particular project, for this particular residential TIF, it would be parcel A, blocks 9 and 10. And while this is up, before we have introduced our next speaker, this is the Summit District neighborhood. And so that, what you see, the entire area would be the economic development area. But at this point, number 1 in the green, Shasta Meadow, that would be the first housing TIF area, the first housing allocation area. So that would all be part of the EDA, but we're only building the allocation as this develops out. And so we're starting with number 1 there, the Shasta Meadows.
like to introduce Mr. Venzel, who will be speaking to Summit District.
Excuse me, Travis Venzel with Sullivan Development and Summit District. This is an opportunity for us to utilize this tool to get additional infrastructure that's necessary for this area to develop, to help spur that development, to bring the project into compliance with the PUD requirements. As stated, there's 5 neighborhoods. All of those will have predominantly residential. The residential will be in all forms of residential, from single-family detached owner-occupied homes to single-family detached rental homes to multifamily attached rentals and owner occupancy. There will be some commercial. It will be captured as well. So we believe this is an appropriate way to move forward with funding for much of the infrastructure that is needed, and we're happy to answer any additional questions that may come from anyone that's attending today's meeting. Thank you.
Sorry. This slide is to show some of the differences that you have between the residential TIF and the commercial TIF. But, you know, and I'll just let you look through those. They really are what's needed in each of the different types of TIFs, whether they be residential or commercial. This shows you what types of projects that you might see. And online is the EDA plan with the residential housing development plan, and it is on the RDC website. And those are the draft plans. They're marked draft, except for the drawings. And we're here tonight to get input from the public as to, you know, what they think those plans should include, if what they think of the projects, what they what their input that they want to have. The statute requires that we have this meeting. In a normal commercial TIF, this meeting is not done. Residential TIFs are, this is the main difference procedurally for that. But again, it's to get public input. We want to hear from you. I know that some communities decide to pass their declaratory resolution at the end of this meeting, but we don't want to do that. We want to get as much input as we can, so we will not pass that. That'll come at the next regular RDC meeting, which could possibly be the 23rd, February 23rd. If we're working on schedules and things like that, you know, this time of year. But if it's not then it would be the first meeting in March that we would bring this up. So you've got some time, for those who see this later, you've got some time to give us some input. Let us know what your thoughts are on the plans. And again, this is for the development of the TIF districts. It's not for, you know, trying to decide, you know, the ins and outs of each of the projects, but it's just trying to set up these TIFs so that we can, again, maybe leverage them to get funds to go towards things like infrastructure. So we have anybody who would like to speak on it, please come up and state your name. And
Hi, my name's Deborah Meyerson. I am excited to see the residential TIFs being proposed for both the Summit District and for the Hopewell South PUD, so thank you for sharing that. I do serve as president of the RDC, and so look forward to seeing that on our February 23rd meeting. I was wondering if you could describe a little further an example of what the residential TIF could do. I'm more familiar with the Hopewell South at this point, but for either district in terms of what specifically will deliver different. I know you had your side-by-side chart up there. I hope you'll reflip the headers. But in any case, just kind of translate that slide into what we might be able to see on the ground. Thank you.
Okay. Yeah, what types of projects would be the design of infrastructure, the design of roads and utilities that could go into it? It could be the actual construction of roads and sidewalks and the infrastructure. Again, infrastructure is very expensive, and it is the limiting factor in development. And so what the intent is at this time is that we would use those funds to support that infrastructure. What you would see in the Hopewell TIF is that there's a section of Fairview Street that would be constructed. There is a section of Jackson Street that would be constructed. There are some individual lanes as well, and there are green space areas. For the rest of the Hopewell TIF area, or the Hopewell area, what you can already see is the park that they have put in near the Kroger's there, and that infrastructure, they're putting in infrastructure part of Jackson Street. So that's similar things that they're already doing in a commercial TIF. Residential TIFs are different because they're excluded from all other kinds of TIFs. So if you have a mixture of residential properties along with commercial properties in a TIF area that's commercial, you only capture what's in the non-residential. And there's a definition of residential I can get into, but these allow you to develop neighborhoods because you're putting the money in the infrastructure for housing. And the great thing about Hopewell South is that, and again, that's the one I'm most familiar with too, but you will have a larger number of units in a smaller area. So that means your infrastructure, it's less infrastructure needed to serve that many units. And so that is one major reason to do the PUD is to, the planned urban development, is to get the number of units higher and the cost of infrastructure lower. So again, sidewalks, parks, roads, utilities, water, sewer, stormwater, all of that type of infrastructure can be paid for with TIF dollars, as well as their design and having consultants help design the overall project. All of those costs are legitimate costs to help the project. Does that help?
We also have, Chang from Reedy Financial, who may be able to better address that question, the biggest differences between residential and commercial TIFs, since this is Bloomington's first set of residential TIFs. Justin, would you like to address that?
Is that okay? Yeah, so when we look at sorry, I'm trying to look at the audience at the same time, but when we look at a residential and commercial TIF, the main differences is what Dana mentioned earlier. It's the lifespan of the TIFs and what is capturable, right? For a residential TIF, we can't capture 1%, whereas a normal commercial TIF, we cannot capture that 1%. So the logistics side of it, that's the main difference. Now, for what the TIF dollars could be spent on, they're very similar. But in order for a lot of RDCs, they want to use the dollars coming from the residential TIF to benefit obviously all TIFs are to benefit the residents, but it's to specifically benefit the residents within that TIF. So like Dana said, a lot of road infrastructure will benefit that TIF area. So the residents there could have better access as compared to a commercial TIF. Yes, the TIF dollars are to benefit the residents there, but they might be used for industrial reasons as well, whereas in a residential TIF is for the people. So the parks are a big one, utilities are a big one, and roads are a big our big projects.
I'd like to add that too. You know, when you're in it all the time, you think about this redevelopment and what it means, but it means more than just this one neighborhood. It impacts the entire community, because what we're getting with these projects is affordable housing. For our workforce. It's so the benefits are far wider than just in these neighborhoods. They are for the entire community. Again, places for our workers to live, places where companies can come in and have house inventory for people to live in. So it affects a much greater area than just that neighborhood. So thought I'd better add that point.
Thank you. Public input. See if there's anybody. Is there anyone in council chambers that would like to ask any questions or provide input? Mike, and state your name.
Hi, Dave Askins with the B Square Bulletin. This is a question, not input. So both of these areas that are proposed for residential TIF are already in this geographic area of the consolidated TIF, as I understand it. Is that wrong?
Sorry, thanks for turning my mic on. The Hopewell South TIF is in part of the consolidated TIF. The Summit District is a combination of parts that are in the consolidated TIF and parts that are in no TIF.
Okay.
So it's a big open expanse.
Right.
And so there's a part of it that's not in a TIF yet, but by creating the economic development area. So these actually, it's a good point, good question. These actually pull them out of the consolidated TIF to the extent they're in the consolidated TIF and puts them in their own TIF area,
Right.
economic development area.
But my question then might apply more to the Hopewell South situation as opposed to the Summit District. But the question is, once the residential TIF is established, assuming that it does get established, does that prevent TIF funds that have been accumulated through the consolidated TIF from being spent on the areas that are now residential TIF? So you understand what I'm...
Yes, I get what you're saying.
So if I
And-
were, if I owned the land, I might be interested in sort of timing the establishment of the residential TIF so that as much investment could be made off of the consolidated TIF dollars that have already been captured in this area, so that those, we maximize that investment and then establish the residential TIF.
Yes.
If there is some interplay. I don't know. That's the nature of my question.
Yeah,
Thanks.
that's a great question. Thank you for asking. I'll try and then I'll let Justin follow up. The TIF district funds that are saved from the funds from the consolidated TIF can be used in projects that benefit the TIF. And so you could use consolidated funds in the residential TIF, which we're actually using consolidated funds now to pay for the design that you saw here and such. So so you can continue to do that as long as it's a benefit to the consolidated TIF. Yeah, you want to?
Earlier, Dana mentioned there's an EDA and a TIF allocation area, and I know that's a lot of different areas that we have to remember, but essentially an EDA is where it's a larger portion of the TIF allocation areas, and it is where you can spend the money on. So if you draw like a big circle around Bloomington, that could be the EDA, and that's where TIF dollars could be spent on. And then within that bigger circle, you draw little smaller circles like a pizza with pepperoni in it. each smaller pepperoni would be a TIF allocation area. So what we're doing here is creating a smaller pepperoni within that big pizza. And even though the TIF allocation area can only be, even though TIF revenues is only collected on parcels within the pepperoni, those TIF revenues can be spent on the entire pizza, which is the consolidated economic development area. I hope that clarifies your question a little bit.
It's a really useful analogy. Thank you.
Thought of it on the spot.
Council chambers or online that would like to ask any questions or provide input?
If there's no one else that has any questions, I'll stay around for a while. If you want to ask me something outside of the camera range, I'd be happy to help. We are really excited about this project, and we appreciate your interest in coming this evening. And so I guess we will adjourn this meeting. Oh, wait, go ahead. Oh, okay, sure. Very good. So what, and our timeline may shift a little bit, so I won't say dates, but the process is that when you're doing a residential TIF, the first thing is this meeting. You notice this meeting, again, to the neighborhoods that are nearby. Technically, it would only have to be the actually neighborhoods in there, but we wanted to make sure we included as many as possible in them. And so, so we did the surrounding neighborhoods and the underlying taxing authorities like transit and county and city and library and schools, and noticed all of them as well. So getting the notice out and having this meeting to try to get information on it. And again, we would like you to look at the plans online and give us any information, anything you would like us to know in developing those. The next step is that it would go to the RDC, to a regular meeting, and there would be a declaratory resolution. And that's technically the big start of what's going on. This is getting the information together that we'll put in the plan that we'll take to the RDC. So after the RDC meets, and if they pass the declaratory resolution, the next step is for the project to go to the TIF project to go to the Plan Commission. And the Plan Commission would have it just at a regular meeting, and neither at the first RDC meeting for the declaratory resolution, nor is the Plan Commission meeting, they're not hearings, they're just done in regular meetings. And then at a Common Council regular meeting, they would consider it as well. And then after you get your approvals from the Plan Commission and the Common Council, then it comes back to the RDC, the Redevelopment Commission, and the Redevelopment Commission will hold an actual public hearing on it. So that is a great time for people to give input as well. And after the hearing, if they decide to, they can pass, it's called a confirmatory resolution that confirms the declaration that they had made before, and then then after that it gets recorded, and that's pretty much the process. So it's several steps. We're hoping maybe to be done in April, maybe May. Like I said, it depends on schedules and when items have to be at each of the entities to make it onto their packet. But the hope is to get it established pretty soon, and look to the future of these two neighborhoods. Okay.
You can find copies of our plan at bloomington.in.gov/boards/. /redevelopment. If you have any questions, feel free to email me at Anna, ANNA.Killion, KILLION, Hanson, HANSON, at bloomington.in.gov. Dana?
Okay, and you're welcome to email me as well. It's Dana, DANA, .Kerr, KERR, at bloomington.in.gov. Again, we appreciate you all being here tonight, and we will hereby close this public meeting. Thank you very much.